So I guess my question that I want to ask you is, you've been running V13 since 2005.
Yes.
So for over 20 years. Um, I got to ask, what's the one thing about the indie music industry that's gotten worse in that time, not better?
Man, that's a tough thing to ask. A tough thing to answer. Sorry. The thing that's gotten worse about the indie music industry. The first thing that came to mind was just volume. There's a absolutely insurmountable volume of content now.
Hmm.
20 years ago, I felt like, the amount of pitches I got was manageable. The amount of new releases were manageable. Aaron and I would review stuff, cover stuff, write about stuff on our own, go to a lot of shows. Now I pull up like a show app or a show website, trying to see what schedules are like. And there's a dozen shows in a night that I feel FOMO to be missing out on. Whereas previously it was like, okay, there's a couple shows tonight. I'm gonna go to this one and then I'm gonna dip out and go to the other one.
Hmm.
So I just feel like there's so much content and that's it's good and bad. It's good because more and more people are creating, putting out stuff. It's bad because it's tough to keep all up with all of it from a industry label publication perspective. It's also bad for the artist in the sense that while you can get your art out there much faster, there's just this sea of shit. And so getting heard is probably way harder now than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, there's more tools and there's more this and there's more that. But at the same time, there's more tools, there's more this, there's more that. So like you and I are trying to
It's
almost
true.
sift through the shit on so many different levels to discern what are the things that'll actually help with this, right? You go fishing, you're new to fishing. There's a million different lures and flyers and leaders and the rods and when you go and the time of day and should I be using like this test or 100-pound test or 10-pound test. I feel like that is how the industry is now, where it's like, I don't know where to start. I just want to catch a fish.
So true. Well, this is the thing is you talked about volume earlier. I feel like that's one of the craziest things that differentiates you from so many other people is that like it's been you that's been running this site, and at this point you've got how many articles published in your name?
So I've been doing it for 21 years from Pure Grain Audio to V13. When we did our large migration from Pure Grain Audio to V13 with Graham Finney's help, because he obviously works with us, we made the difficult decision to nix a whole bunch of our database. So we were actually not just moving from Pure Grain Audio to V13, but we were moving from text pattern to WordPress. So we were actually moving from an old CMS to a totally different one because we had been using
Mm.
text pattern for a long time. So during that process, we said, you know what, old news articles, I think it was mostly news articles, but there was a lot of articles that we said we're not going to pivot over. And it was roughly 50% of our database. So I would say something like 30-ish thousand articles didn't migrate over by choice, because it was a big load to do with all the images and all that stuff. So I think all in to date, V13, if I think about our historical archive, has probably published 100,000 articles. And I've sent well over 250,000 emails in that time. And I have the receipts for people that are questioning, how does he know? I have the receipts.
250,000.
Yeah, at least that's another thing too, is people don't understand that when you start to have inboxes that big, that from a technical perspective, those files are in the gigs. And sometimes when you're migrating servers, when you're migrating from an email host to another email host, things can muck up. And if you don't back up and save and do things properly, you can lose some of those. So I do have, certain sections within certain years of email history that are missing that might be on a backup somewhere else. But if I look at, what I currently have with the full backup from first email to current date, about 250.
That's fucking unreal, first of all. Um, I the whole run from like PGA from Pure Grain Audio V13 Media, like the fact that it's the same people who covered the underground are the ones now. Like you and me started promo.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where we went into artist development, mostly because we were like, hey, like let's full send on this, and we found each other like in like lovers in a hopeless place, and we said, you know what, we need this, and we got our heads together and said, what are we good at? Um,
Not
you're really
only
good
not
at.
only are we, what are we good at, like what are the easiest things for us to then start to iterate and provide value back into the community, because that's what it all comes down to, right? Is how do we take this ecosystem and continue serving the underground, continue serving the creatives and the artists on all levels, but specifically the ones that need the help more so.
100%.
I'll
So
give quick credit to oh my goodness, Jedward Keys over at Bandcamp, who I spoke with recently. We're talking about editorial and curation. And I was like, dude, like how do you pick? You're a Bandcamp. You're getting even more stuff than we are. I would hate to see your inbox. Sure, he's got a team and he gets to disseminate music and whatnot. But he said, honestly, it's the shit that I like and it's the shit that needs the support.
mm,
Does Rihanna need Bandcamp to write about her or whatever? No, because she's going to get a million pickups elsewhere. It's the people that need it that I really like, that sound rad. That's how I pick and prioritize. And I feel like I've been trying to do that as well. It's like, have you heard of DJ Taraba? No, who's that? He's this house DJ from Prague that I loved in 96 to 2000. You got to check him out. Who is he? Well, where do I find him? I don't know. That's what I like to do, right? Take those cool
mhm.
little, or even you, man, like some of the stuff you listen to that's more obscure, that to you is not obscure, but to me it's like Botch, and some of these other I'm like, I haven't gone that deep into the recesses of hardcore and
Yeah, I
grindcore.
mean, like there's stuff. I mean, yeah, there's stuff that like I literally cannot locate anymore. Like I literally had to get like a fucking zip file sent to me via DM so that I could listen to some of these albums. And it's not. I know that this is totally like edge lord. Like my tastes are so obscure. No, I will 100% blast K-pop and pop in general. It's the difference is that we have a love and a passion for it. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the given. That's the love and there's a logic to what we had to do to make it work. And when we started working together, we saw that contrast, that comparison and that contrast, but we also saw how well it worked. And the other thing that we started seeing, the pattern that we started seeing emerge, and this is the reason why we started to talk about creating this village, was that we started seeing patterns emerge where the same problems kept showing up across
Yeah.
every artist that we worked with. There was no system or baseline. There was a rented audience. They were leaking money on royalties that they weren't claiming. They had no identity that held up. There's no working week. That's not to say that every artist that we've had has had all of those problems. Quite the opposite. Most artists have some semblance of those things, but they get super fascinated and hung up on, kind of like me. I definitely got a shiny thing syndrome, and so it's like, oh, I want to talk about like ads, and it's like you don't have links in your Spotify profile. You don't have a fucking bio.
Yeah.
You don't have like the basics down. But then on top of that, like, it's not just the basics, but it's the industry know-how. Like, you can be the most talented artist in the world and still get completely massacred by this industry. And that's what it's like, the worst kept secret. Like, there's literally documentaries like that go on about how if you're not part of this, like on the business side, you're going to get screwed. And so we said from the very beginning, we said, we're not going to screw anyone, but we ourselves are not going to get screwed. We're gonna make sure that any rising tides need to raise, not all ships, because sometimes that's impossible, but they need to raise as many people as possible. Okay, conscious business,
Hell yeah.
and yeah. So every framework that we have come up with in the time since, and it's been just one long big like fire hose of information, especially in an industry where I've seen more seismic changes in the 4 years, uh, or like 3 years, sorry, of doing this than I have in the rest of my time alive. Like, seemingly, like, it's
And
just
that's
been
the
nuts.
thing, is like the changes are not limited to one thing. It's not like the music industry. I mean, you could go down a rabbit hole and say, I've seen changes to Instagram alone. I don't know how many times over the last 3 years in terms of like them using hashtags, not using hashtags, how the algorithm works, how they pick things up. I mean, you've talked about that ad nauseum. And I think that therein lies kind of the point with not only what we're trying to do, but what artists need to do, which is, first of all, be authentically yourself, because that is where the best art comes from. Your truth is your art. So for you and me, we have individual truths as creators. You're a writer, you want to get books out there. I love helping people, I love mindset, I want to do this coaching. It's been a lifelong passion, and I don't know why it took me so long to get here. But then we collectively love music, we love the industry, we love, helping businesses and individuals, and that's why we have V13 as a whole, and all these things around it now with the village. So it
Mm-hmm.
starts there. Then it's just go, right? Like, don't think, don't over analyze, over prepare, analysis paralysis. Just start. If you can't play the guitar, who cares? Just pick up the guitar. If you love it, just keep doing it, and you're going to naturally get better. I think about my journey with websites 21 years in, the amount of times that I've rebuilt websites, changed the layouts, and it's
Shit.
not because, oh, this time it's perfect and I'll never have to do it again. It's just good for what it is now. And then not having socials, because I was, adamantly, vehemently against it for the longest time. And then with Heart Dealer, you're like, yo, bro, you got to get your game on point. I'm still relearning and reiterating with all of that stuff, but we're taking these steps. So authentically yourself, creating art from truth, just go, go, go. Don't be scared to constantly rebuild as you go, learn as you go. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think that the learning part, if you stay open and flexible, you'll realize that, sure, you can learn all this on your own, but there's so much to know. So what have we learned in our lifetime is that anywhere that you can pay money to save time is incredible, because then you can go back to the beginning of the pyramid and focus on art.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is like, any large language model in the world will give you a shitload of information. Most of it's going to be just vibes. It's just going to be, this seems right. Like, that's quite literally how a large language model works. But I won't get into the nethers of that. Like, what's more important is, like, advice is free for a fucking reason, because it's cheap. But nobody just wants free advice. Like, they actually want to do things, and that's the difference. Is I will perseverate, and analysis paralysis, boom. I feel that, because that's me, where I'll be like, I don't want to. I want to come out the gate swinging and have everything perfect and never fail at anything ever once I do and finally engage in that endeavor. And then 15 years pass and you realize, maybe that wasn't the fucking move. Maybe that wasn't the way to do
Yeah.
this. Maybe waiting in perpetuity wasn't the play. And so that's why the reason that I have all the time in the world for yourself, and that's why I love working with you, is because for the 8 years before leading up to this venture with yourself, you were the one voice that supported my creative one during a very difficult period while I was out there across the Atlantic and was just really struggling. I mean, I've been writing with you, for you, to you, 10 years now. And there's a reason why, is because like I think that the biggest difficulty that creatives have is that they don't have an audience that is they don't have they don't have a trusted group that's both warm and knowledgeable, and they have the love and the logic, right? This is the thing that's lacking so much for people, for creatives today, is because they have to operate in this fucking vacuum where they get these vapid comments occasionally, but everything's quantified, and instead of having meaningful feedback from someone who paid deep attention to something of theirs, instead it's everyone's barely paying attention to everyone, everyone's trying to get everyone to pay attention to them at scale.
Yeah.
And there's only a select few that are making money off of that, and it's none of the creatives. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah. I dipped out for a second to get a pen because you inspired me. And I think this is, again, one of the key principles of what we do and what we are trying to instill in all of the creatives that we work with is just keep going, just keep flowing. Because as you discuss, as you sit down and philosophize with other people within the industry, whether it's paid or not, things will percolate. And then those things will lead to the next thing. We were talking about fishing earlier, and then you talked about art and advice. And I don't know, this isn't fully flushed out at all, but I'm just starting to pull this apart here. When you teach someone to fish, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna know how to fish, because everyone learns differently, right? Some people learn best by I mean, I remember when I was building computers and learning about systems and having to install operating systems and troubleshoot the hardware and stuff. And I default to asking my buddy George, like, okay, dude, like, I'm stuck here. What do I do? And he was the one that said to me, dude, stop asking me. Google it and figure it out yourself, because you're going to develop the neural pathways. I'm here. I'll make sure you don't, fuck things up, but don't ask me so much. You are smart. Figure it out.
right. Right.
Work with me and yourself. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship. So I don't know where this is going, but art and advice, they're very important things. But together, if you take those and you apply them, if you apply the advice onto the art, then you start going in the direction of audience. And I think that's the essence of what we're trying to do we're using this school platform because we're trying to educate. And by leveraging our working sessions, what you and I call working sessions, where we do the shit in real time, we're taking that education aspect and applying it directly to someone's art and showing them how in real time this works. And I think that is what people need to accept, that you can't just go out there and Google everything and figure it out for yourself.
Right.
You have to do that, but you have to also be willing to put in time, energy, money into other people that are doing the same thing, because they'll know better than you. Not everyone, not every instance, but it's crucial.
It is. And that's the thing, is like most information out there, you don't know how current it is. And to keep current, is a full-time position. So by the time you've like finished all the reading that you could do of the most up-to-date thing, you're already out of date on the stuff that you had started previously. It's a thankless task, and it's an endless blunder. So what you have to do instead is to accept that, just love it for the sake of it, and also do not do it without the proper remuneration and compensation set up for yourself. Just don't gouge out your own practice because you think that somehow eventually maybe it'll do it. It'll somehow move the needle for you. It's not. The whole underground equals free trap. Supporting the underground doesn't mean keeping artists broke. Okay?
Yeah.
We're both sick of it, and we're both very sick of like people trying to make a quick buck off of people who, you know, you think somebody's a rube because you you send them a compliment, and these people are so starved for any sort of attention whatsoever that by the time they finally do get something, it's so intoxicating
Hmm.
that yeah, of course they'll fall for like some scam, but like the cards are already so stacked already. Like there's no, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I don't mean to say that all artists are and creatives are very easily fooled.
Hmm.
Quite the opposite, actually. But it is also true that there are some times where people do fall for it. I
Yeah.
myself have at first. Then people kind of were like, "Oh, right." But
You
like when
know,
you first,
funny, sorry, there's a
yeah,
really awesome flip side to that coin too, and I agree with you. Like, you're only as smart as you are until you've learned more, right? You only know something until you've gone through it and you say, haha, I'm not going to get fooled again. I saw that. But then we also have so many artists that will seek out help. They want the help. They're stuck.
yep.
They get the help and they say, ah, I know better. Why are
So
you
true.
telling me this? And it's like, bro, aren't you like the one who like reached out for the advice and now you're not willing to say it's the same in the world of mindset, mental wellness is art advice, right? Mind advice. It's really easy to get advice. It's really easy to give advice. It's really hard to apply that advice. It's like that adage of listening versus hearing. Everyone listens, Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I was listening. But did you hear what I said? Do you understand these words that are coming out of my mouth?
It's so funny because like that really clearly illustrates. I think that for you and me, we're actually what I've always admired is your ability to actually engage with people in that way so that you can actually like help them with the mindset behind it. Whereas for me, I'm very for some reason I have a real tough time like actually sitting with that. Sometimes I do because I can see a very specific type of thinking that I myself shared. But a lot of the time you're very willing to get into the actual like coaching of people, like developing them. And you've done it for me, that whole like that guidance, mentoring, that creative development. I see that as creative development, as you getting me published. And it might have been just a review here and there, but it was the kindness, the empathy, the warmth, the love that you showed every single fucking time, bar none. Like I literally have an entire folder in my Gmail of just your responses to every single one of my submissions. And now I've got 300 plus articles that now it shows like each and every single time has been a vote for this identity that I have wanted to be a writer, right? And you have fostered that. Yours is the mindset. Whereas I feel like this is why we've got this like great yin yang type thing, but because for me, I'm very much a systems guy. I'm like, well, if there's an architecture in place, then you can certainly have a curriculum that goes at a particular type of cadence, and then before you know it, you've got cake. Like it's a very systematic approach, but it's because my mind is so scattered, and we
Yeah.
know that because that's been diagnosed. But like, I think that the result of that, and it's taken me a long time to get to here, but now I'm finally at a place where the outputs that I'm creating to accommodate and solve for that are actually going to be helpful for others. And I think that that's where this approach finally reaches its kind of apex, which is the village, which we've been talking about for years. But previously, it was not previously, it's still a Discord, but this is different. This is not like a hangout. This is a working group. So if whether you're an artist or author or some other type of creator of any kind, you are going to be part of a working group Not you're not like you're not sectioned off and siloed on any of that shit. We're actually going to have like, hey, we're going to work out loud. You show your work on a Monday and you say, hey, this is what this is my top of mind. Like if I had one thing I could get done this week, this is the thing I want to kill. This is the thing I want to ship. This is the thing I want to finally crest the wave. And then you get to say like, what would be super helpful in terms of feedback is this particular thing, or
Yeah.
I'm thinking this. And then what do you get? You get a room full of people who are earnest and sincere. There's no twats allowed in here. I personally will reach out and just ban out. Not that I've ever had to, because like, who does that? But you've got at a minimum, you've got you and me. Between us, we've got 30 plus years of creative, like proven creative industry knowledge, love, like genuine, like empathy for humans and the creative passion.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the beauty of this. And then we come together on Wednesdays, excuse the expression, and on weekly Wednesday calls we have this like I try to hot seat people so that I get to work with them directly. But working out loud does this incredible thing where you get to record and actually share the lessons that others are learning in
Mhm.
real time and then in perpetuity, because then you get to like see those replays. But there is so much more value in working as a collective, which is why there's been so much work to destabilize and decentralize collectives the world over,
Yeah.
because they're so goddamn powerful.
It's it's funny. So you said something there that I had to look something up while you're talking. There's this funny duality of fast and slow, big and small, that is ever present in the creative journey that can't be avoided. And I think that that is going back to you saying us, the love and the logic, the yin and the yang. You mentioned that same thing during the podcast with Mark Winters, how we balance and complement each other. Mr. Hustle, grinding all my life and all that fun stuff. He's got a track called Dedication. There's a line: dedication, hard work plus patience. The sum of all my sacrifice, I'm done waiting. The sum of all his sacrifice is really hard work and patience. And that is that fun opposition that I don't think most creatives really understand, is that you have to be going every day at full speed. That payoff, that's the slow marathon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're living in
Yeah.
this speed world while also going very slowly towards success.
Yeah.
And people will argue there's overnight successes and this and that. You know, Rage Against the Machine's first album, it was just a hit. Bam. Do you know what those individual people had to go through
Right.
musically and the previous bands, all the stuff
Right.
to get to that point? And then, sure, there's an element of luck and timing and good fortune, but and obviously good art, it has to come back down to a good art, good idea. But that underlying principle of hard work and patience never goes away. So even when someone comes to you and says, I want to be a published author, and I've produced 300 articles and I've worked with this person and battled, my mental positioning on, am I worthy of being published or not, or whatever it is that you've had to go through on your own journey. That is the 300 articles, is that hustle. And then that whole arc is the patience to then finally get published. And the
And
amount of musicians that hit us up and they're like, my album's out. I just want to get it out. Why isn't it hitting? Why isn't it hitting? My album's out. Come on. I should be number one on top of every list. Oh my God. Do you know how many singles and videos and lyric videos and live videos and tours and merch and stuff Nipsey did before his like last album, which was his opus?
yeah, this is it. It's like it boggles my mind when people are like, why isn't this what I'm just weird. I'm just why are the streams like, because in things like that, it's like there's many layers to peel back.
Yeah.
But the simplest thing is like you're looking for external validation,
Oh,
and the reason why this industry is so cruel is that You think that once you have 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people screaming your name and finishing your lyrics, you think you're going to be complete on the inside. And the really fucked up part is that that's not true. That's not necessarily true. This is why we keep losing people. They
Yeah.
keep on they skyrocket and in the ground in 2 years
Yeah.
or never heard of again. Gone. And I think that what we want is a different way where you get to have it both ways, except you're going to deny yourself. It's the marshmallow test. This is the marshmallow test. You know, like delayed gratification is the ultimate form of, it's like one of the ultimate measures of like how intelligent, mature, and likely to succeed a person is, hey, you can have one marshmallow now, but if you wait for 5 minutes, you get 10.
Yeah.
Can you do that? And I don't know. For me personally, I think that you and I complement each other really well with this. I think that what I'm really looking forward to is that we've managed to we've tried in all sorts of different ways to make this work, not just for ourselves, which is a very important distinction, but also for the people that we work with.
Definitely.
So we still have the high value retainer work. We still have a lot of that going on. But what we want is to lower the barrier of entry and still have loads of value. Like there's 4 different courses that over the time that we've spent together, I've been assembling, my craziness. I've got neurobits databases and fucking, highlights and insights maps and all sorts of craziness. I've got my pillars, pipelines, and vault system. But the dream outcome really is like, you're going to stop being a stranger to your own career. You're going to stop yelling into the void. You're going to stop renting out your audience and you're going to stop leaving money on the table. And also, stop signing shit that you're going to regret.
Yeah.
You're going to establish your foundations. You're going to build your foundations. I only wrote a goddamn book about it, but problem with books, it's free knowledge. It's free beta. Here, you can't shove it into a person's head most of the time.
No, that's the fishing example, right? So I think that
Exactly.
one of the things, again, why we complement each other so well, and it's this duality that we need to impart on creatives, is that it's not just analytical, it's also emotional. So you have to go into the world of creation, art, and any type of business, to be honest, with a love and a passion and a good idea that yields value for other people. If you're not creating value for other people, it's already, I don't want to say a failure, but you're already missing the point. You have to love it, be passionate about it, and want to create value for someone else. In doing so, you're enjoying the ride. When you enjoy the ride, it's not work, it's just fun, and it's your reason for living. You wake up and you can't see yourself doing anything else because you don't know when your success will happen. I'm looking at Weezer, for example, top 10 on Spotify. 8 of their 10 biggest songs of all time are off their first 3 albums. And then it's
Yeah.
it's a huge fall off after that. That doesn't discredit the stuff that they're making now, but you never know when your thing is going to hit, when it's going to hit a mass audience or a niche audience. And as long as you're enjoying the ride, you won't care. I'm sure Weezer doesn't care. They get into a studio and they're making whatever it is that they are making now. And they're like, oh, yeah, man, I love this song. And whether other people listen to it or not, they don't care because they're just creating art for themselves. What you're trying to, I think, what we're trying to do is that you cannot avoid doing the work. You cannot avoid fixing your mind. These are all part and parcel for the journey. What we're endeavoring to do, what good teachers endeavor to do, is enable you to work faster and smarter, not harder, so that you can cast that line into the ocean with more grace, with more times, with more like bait, with whatever, so that the odds of bringing those fish in and feeding your family are higher and higher and higher. That doesn't mean you're going to catch a whale every time. Most people never will, but the odds of catching said whale go up. the more you teach yourself, the more you allow yourself to learn, and the more you calm yourself and have a good mindset and open heart.
Put differently, because no, I really to yeah no. I'm giving like a that's one metaphor, and in case that doesn't work for somebody, the alternate version is also like uh you need to be caught with your hand on the pen. You know, you have to be caught with your line in the water,
Hell
because when if and when the muse arrives, when the muse graces you with her presence, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be chilling, or are you going to be working? The thing is
Mr. Eminem,
I think, sorry,
Mr. Eminem, you got one shot. What are you gonna
do
do?
not miss your mom's spaghetti. It's super straightforward. um, I think that the biggest takeaway for anyone who's like looking at this is I want you to stop thinking that this is like this isn't for like this is not the path that you were meant to take. This is something that I've learned myself is like, oh, this isn't how I imagined it, and this isn't how any of my heroes have done it, so that's just not how it's done.
Yep.
Like, I'll never forget there was this spooky moment where Louis C.K. says, "Hey, he was making fun. He had a bit about how, um, you know, these actors that ask a question inside the actor's studio of like famous established actors, and they're like, how do you, what got you to the point that you are now?" And he has a joke about like how, well, you just asked, so you're not making that. But what's really funny is that the when I saw that bit, someone on YouTube had put that clip and then mashed it up against somebody asking a question of Sean Penn in Inside the Actor's Studio. And they asked that same sort of question. But the person asking it was fucking Bradley Cooper.
Agreed.
So, like, just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean that this isn't your path, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I thought I wouldn't. So I'm not going to do this. No one else that I know had to do this. Tom York wouldn't have to do this bullshit. So what? Tom York has had to give like shitty fucking interviews in Finland at 3 a.m. Like he's done all sorts of things that you haven't fucking done. Oh, Kurt Cobain wouldn't abide by this shit. Yeah, like my if my mom had wheels, she'd be a bike. Like what are we talking about here? Let's try
Yeah.
and compare apples to apples, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think this is why mindset is so important. And I mean, if you look at some of the most successful artists, producers out there, it's not surprising that so many of them are so spiritual and open-minded to whatever it might be. This is why I adopted the catchphrase of, let me get you out of your mind and into your heart, because through the journey that I've been on for the last few years, it's so easy to be analytical and see the world through these eyes. But when you close those eyes and turn this off and go inward and really pay attention to what your gut and your soul is saying, that's when you find your art. That's when you find your path. And I would argue that you don't find your path. Your path finds you.
I mean, it sounds corny as hell, but I'm sorry, but like it's also fucking true.
Yeah.
Sometimes shit sounds corny only because like sorry, we've already had this sometimes a thing remains the thing, remains the archetype because guess what? It just is, dude.
Yeah.
Like we can't improve on our respiratory system, my dude. Like it just fucking is. You
How
know?
how
Like
did you, Lance, get to be a music industry educator? Well, I woke up and I said, I'm going to be a published author, and that's all I'm ever going to do. No, you just 10, 20 years later, the arc has led you here.
yeah, I mean shit, dude, like it really is like a culmination of it is down to mindset though. Because I could just as easily have not I took a chance. I was really at a place in my life where I was like, I'm scared of going into the ground without ever having even attempted to do this stuff.
Mm.
And I had ideas at the time, and I was burning alive with the desire to like just get this shit out of me. And like by the time I met you, it was like I had reached this. I'd already written that manuscript that just went nowhere, and that's okay. That's great.
Which
That's
one?
good. It was Fumes. It's not like one of those things where like, oh, Lance is too hard on himself. I'm like, trust me when I say that there was like it was a nothing burger. It's like 327 pages of just like there's no plot. That's not a thing. Barely characterization.
But then
Our
you're
main,
kind of saying the point, right? Like you're saying the things that I know about you, which are the self doubt and whatnot, and you're obviously self aware. But at the same time, the point is you still did it.
I learned from it,
Exactly.
dude. First of all, that book ended up becoming the second book in a trilogy that I will eventually at some point, which when I'm not trying to build like sustainable ecosystems that benefit all, when I'm not trying to build a walled garden for our community, um, I get to
Yeah.
essentially. And I had to take a side door approach. I had to go in through the side door. I can't go up against the front door because every time I do that, I know how I am as a creative. You kind of have to use if things aren't working, go with the flow. You got to use trickster energy sometimes. You don't like just push at something that's pushing at you. There's a little bit of like, well, you know, turn when pushed kind of thing. Like go deflect,
Hmm.
move, but move it in a little bit more intentionality that you might think. This is the fundamentals of martial arts and energy principles here anyway. But like this is how it works. I mean, you just have to find the thing that works for you. And the biggest thing that we know that works for people is being held accountable on a regular cadence with people that care in an environment that is conducive to results.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That is literally what the village is. That's what we built it as. You want stuff that you can start to consume right away because you've got that like I'm gonna shed 30 pounds energy. Well, we've got the classroom with 4 different courses. You want to get ready, get heard, get paid, or get fans? Boom. Just have at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for those of us who, the second they lose that, they're like puffed out and they're like, that sprint has left me quite exhausted and now I don't want it. No, no. Get your ass back in the seat every single week. That's the discipline. And we
Hmm.
teach that. And there's a reason. There's a reason that we have huge mountain of stuff that you can binge. And you are required to show up regularly and share your work because we will work with you on it. There's real impact. There's real advice. Literally, what do you think writers' circles and writing groups are? There's people that are in parallel writing groups where they don't even talk to each other about their writing. They just know that people are writing at the same time as them. That's a thing.
You,
You
you
know that's a
know it.
thing, right?
No, no, 100%, 100%. I was gonna just say, like, I really love being authentic to the core and paying homage as well. Um, I've learned so many values and different tips and tricks along the way, and I've cited some of my influences. Um, I also said like provide value, right? Like for any artist, creative business, like make sure that the bottom line is you're creating value for someone else. You yourself live and die by that principle ever since you discovered Hormozy. Why don't you kind of elaborate a little bit on that idea of build a garden? We'll mess with you and play with you and show you how to do stuff in the garden, but we're still going to build a garden, make it super jam packed with awesome stuff, and then allow you free entry,
Yeah.
and then some of the rides you're going to pay for. But like everything else, man, just have at it.
That's exactly it. It's like, I think that the thing that I really have a lot of time for with him is that fundamental principle of make an offer that is so good that it's just it doesn't make sense saying no to it. But the whole point of that is not so that you can like scam or sneak something subpar by. No, the whole point is that you're actually thinking. You got to use your brain. You got to sit down. You got to go. He has this great line. Got tons of great lines, but he's like, "Go figure. Working harder. You have to work harder to create better outcomes." Like who would have thunk? But like, he he really does stress this, which is you really do, above all else, you really do need to like put the reps in, and
Yeah.
like in a very very real way. Like other people will say, yeah, put 100 hours in. He's like, put 300. Like just go nuts. Like absolutely more, better, new. First more, right? Then better, then new.
Yeah.
So I think this says it all. Like we've got here is pretty clear, like how we came to this, what this is, and why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Is the I kind of think we focused a lot on the why,
And
but
this isn't, it's not novel, and this is what many
no.
people do. We've referenced this before. Tim Quirk, one of my guests on the podcast last year,
Mm-hmm.
he
Yep.
referenced, was it Rovio, Angry Birds, and creating that like huge, free, amazing
Yes.
garden where you can come and play
Yes.
and you can have the best time ever. And the portion of people that are generating billions for this business is so small.
Yeah.
But they're doing
It
that because they
was
want to, because they're
nuts.
already in the garden. And they're like, oh man, this is
Right.
cool. I want to mess with this.
Exactly. Well, this is it. Is like we've got our garden, which is V13. We get like over 2 million impressions a month. We get, however many fucking hundreds of thousands of individual users, but also like we have 20 plus years of credibility and publishing track record.
Yeah.
And the good thing is like you're not a piece of shit. Thank goodness you're not a real piece of shit. You've actually been like a really nice person with all those publicists and all those people. So you've actually kept like good working connections with all those people. Good on you, by the way. Well,
Hard work plus patience, dedication.
I was
I mean, I
just
can't say
hoping
it
you
better.
would.
I
Yeah.
can't say it better. It's just that
Well,
is the mantra.
simple as that, baby. And then, you know, uh, by the time you do come out swinging and you do have that review, because like iterations without review is nothing, but
Yeah.
reviewing without any actual attempts is just as bad. So again, we're trying to teach that balance of like, yo, what do you need more of right now? Are
Yeah.
you like totally stuck here, or are you just all here? And this is it. This people will know, and they
Oh yeah.
can bounce between us.
That's a perfect way to wrap up, because you said bounce between us, and that's the thing. The bounce is the balance, and all of life is a balance. This whole universe is a harmony, good and evil, light and dark, you name it, love and logic. I am love, you are logic. That is the balance, and that is the approach you need to take to your art. No different than the approach you take to your life, which is why mindset is so important to industry knowledge. You have to do both of those things. And then you come up with really fun ideas that you can't wait to share, going back to the very beginning of this discussion, K-pop Demon Hunter. And I was like, ooh, how come the Christian metal band Demon Hunter hasn't done a K-pop album yet?
It's right there. You heard it here first, folks.
Demon Hunter K-pop, like it writes itself. That's how you market. And then all of a sudden you got your views, and people don't take your music seriously because you didn't do it authentically.
these are the ideas, people. Well, yeah, I know that people are going to have lots. I know that anyone who steps foot in here, every person that we've ever worked with, we want to make sure that they get all of the value. That's why every person that has already joined on with the village so far has been one of who we call our vanguard, people that we've already had as part of our group. And so they're locked in at the lower rate, lifetime lower rate. So that doesn't like change ever. But like once those first 50 spots are done, at that point we're already like, I gotta keep keep things curated here. It's going to be a lot, but at the same time, we can handle so much more. So,
Absolutely.
past the 50 founding 50 stage, the price is going to go up, and then we are locked into that rate. And I will say, whatever prices people might have objection wise, I think it's more expensive to get scammed. I would say that paying, you know, $300 a month for an ad campaign that does fuck all is probably somehow a worse investment than something
It's
that compounds
it's the
over time.
same thing that we see befall everyone, where they can justify spending, $8.99 a day on a mocha frappy coffeeado, but not that same equivalent monthly on something that's going to help better them, their mindset, whatever it might be. So I'm not concerned about that. People are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day, and I'm not going to worry about the outcome, so to speak.
That's it.
Create the value, build the garden, people show up, end of story. What I will also say though is that you and I are going to start doing this. You and I are going to start doing one-on-one like founders chats that we're going to
Yes.
probably have out in the Heart Dealer podcast, and really just drop more alpha, drop more about the history of how we got to where we are, but like intersperse that with different types of industry knowledge, creation knowledge, mindset knowledge. Hopefully
Yep.
we'll keep them shorter, 20, 30-minute
Yeah.
sessions, but
I think that's the big thing is maybe in fact school is a perfect platform for this because you can download the video after the fact, but
nice.
and you can also post it just inside school, and then from there you can just. So this is the beauty is that we can have more of these one-to-ones. Um, yeah, this is pretty fucking good.
Well, why don't we have a new sign off that I'm going to, adopt for us right now? And this is what we'll
Nice.
do for us on these things. Fail hard,
Fail fast,
later.
Gator. That was the first time we ever did that. Nice.